I never imagined the words Netflix and chill could come from my own son's mouth, let alone land in a text addressed to me. When I read it, my heart actually skipped. My cheeks burned. For one frozen second, I wondered if I'd somehow misread the screen, but that single message cracked something open inside both of us, something honest and fragile and long overdue. By the time the credits rolled hours later, I wasn't only Declan's mother anymore. I was Vanessa, 47, a woman who had just admitted, out loud and to the one person who mattered most, how lonely she had truly become. Before I take you any deeper, tell me, where are you listening from right now? Drop your city in the comments. I always picture you curled up with coffee, or maybe in bed with the lights low, letting these quiet, grown-up stories settle over you like a blanket. Let me bring you back to that night. My name is Vanessa, 47 years old, divorced 5 years, living in the dividers, same tidy house that suddenly felt too big and too silent. My son Declan, 25, tall and broad-shouldered now, had moved back home a few months earlier, just until he figured things out. I'd said yes without hesitation, secretly relieved the hallways would echo a little less. It was an ordinary Tuesday. The kitchen still smelled of lemon dish soap and roasted chicken. The television murmured in the living room, painting the beige walls in shifting blue. Outside, the neighborhood had gone quiet, just the occasional car and the low hum of someone's sprinkler. I'd finished wiping the counters, hands damp, when my phone lit up on the marble island. Declan. Hey, Mom. Netflix and chill tonight? I stared at the words until they blurred. Everyone past 40 knows what that phrase really means online. It's code. An invitation that has very little to do with the movie. My pulse thudded in my throat. I glanced around the empty kitchen like someone might catch me feeling what? I was feeling shock, embarrassment, and the tiniest flicker of something warmer I refused to name. I typed and deleted 4 different replies. Finally, I managed, "Come here. We need to talk before I answer that." Barefoot steps in the hallway. He appeared in the doorway wearing gray sweatpants and a faded college t-shirt, hair tousled, looking every inch the man he'd become. My chest tightened at how grown he was and how familiar. "What's up?" he asked, dropping into the armchair opposite the couch. I turned the phone so he could see his own message. His eyes widened, color flooding his face. "Oh my God, Mom, no." He buried his face in his hands. "That's not." My friends say it all the time just to mean hang out. I swear I forgot who I was texting. Laughter burst out of me, sudden and relieving. Tears pricked my eyes. After a second, he laughed too, the sound low and embarrassed and perfect. We hadn't laughed together like that in years. When the laughter faded, the room felt different, softer, warmer. "So," I said, catching my breath, "what did you actually mean?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "I just thought maybe we could watch something together. You're always out here alone. I'm always in my room. Felt like we could. I don't know. Hang out." The hesitation in his voice, the careful way he watched me, melted the last of my defenses. "You almost gave your mother a heart attack," I teased. He grinned, sheepish. "Yeah, noted." Then his expression shifted, curious. "What did you think when you first read it?" I could have brushed it off. Instead, honesty rose up like it had been waiting years for permission. "I thought you were joking, or that it was meant for someone else." I swallowed, and for one tiny second, I realized how long it's been since anyone at all, asked me to spend the night with them, even as a joke. His brows lifted. The air between us changed again, heavier, gentler. "How long has it been, Mom?" he asked quietly. The question slipped under my ribs and stayed there. "Too long," I whispered. "Long enough that some days I forget I'm still a woman and not just someone's mother." Silence wrapped around us, thick and listening. The television flickered, forgotten. He looked at me, really looked, the way he hadn't since he was small. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't realize you felt invisible." My throat closed, because until that moment I hadn't realized he could see it. And then, very softly, he added, "You're not invisible, Mom. Not to me." Word count, 800. The living room felt smaller suddenly, the space between the couch and the armchair shrinking, even though neither of us had moved. Declan's words hung in the air, simple, steady, and more powerful than any touch. "You're not invisible. Not to me." I felt the sting behind my eyes and blinked it away. "You shouldn't have to worry about that," I said, voice low. "You're supposed to be living your own life." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I do worry. I hear you walking around at night. I see the light under your door at 3 in the morning. I know you pretend everything's fine, but I hate it." The honesty in his voice cracked me open. I had spent years perfecting the art of pretending, smiling at parent-teacher nights, at grocery store checkouts, at my own reflection. Hearing him name it so gently undid me. "I didn't want to be another weight on you," I admitted. "You're not a weight," he said fiercely. "You're my mom, and you're you." That last part, the quiet emphasis on you, settled warm and heavy in my chest. He stood up then, crossed the few steps, and instead of returning to the armchair, he sat beside me on the couch, not at the far end like usual. Close. Close enough that the cushion dipped, and I felt the heat of his arm inches from mine. "So," he said, softer now, "what do we watch for this very non-weird Netflix and chill?" I laughed, shaky and real. "Something honest, where nobody pretends to have it all together." He grabbed the remote, scrolled, and landed on a quiet drama about fractured families and late-night confessions. Perfect. He pressed play, but neither of us looked at the screen right away. Halfway through the opening scene, he paused it again. The room fell into hush, except for the low hum of the refrigerator down the hall. "Can I ask you something else?" His voice was barely above a whisper. I turned toward him. "Anything." He rubbed that familiar scar on his knuckle. "That moment earlier, when you thought I meant the other thing, did it just embarrass you, or did it remind you of something you actually miss?" The question floated between us, dangerous and tender. I could have deflected. Instead, I heard myself answer, "Both." It reminded me how long it's been since anyone looked at me like I was more than a schedule, more than a role. Like I was desirable. The word felt too big in my mouth, too honest, but I didn't take it back. Declan's eyes never left mine. "You are," he said simply. "You always have been. I don't think you believe it anymore." My breath caught. The television glowed, forgotten. He reached out, slow enough that I could have stopped him, and brushed a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered against my cheek for a heartbeat, maybe two. Warm, careful, electric. "I'm sorry," he murmured, starting to pull away. "Don't be," I whispered. My hand rose without permission and covered his, keeping it there against my skin. The touch was innocent and not innocent at all. It was a mother comforting her son, and a woman remembering she still had a pulse. We stayed like that, suspended, until he turned his hand palm up beneath mine and laced our fingers together, just loosely, resting on the cushion between us. The setter's movie stayed paused. Outside, a car passed, headlights sweeping across the curtains and gone. "I missed you," he said into the quiet. "Not just the house. You, the real you. The one who used to laugh until she cried at stupid movies with me." Tears slipped down my cheek this time without warning. He brushed them away with his thumb, gentle, reverent. "I'm still here," I managed. "I know," he said. "I just needed you to know I see you." And in that moment, Curled on the same couch where I'd spent countless nights alone, I believed him. The credits of the movie we never really watched were rolling now, soft piano notes filling the room, but neither of us moved to turn it off. Declan's hand was still resting in mine, warm, steady, the kind of touch that felt both completely natural and quietly seismic. I should have let go. Any other night I would have. Tonight I didn't. He shifted, just enough that his shoulder pressed fully against mine. Not accidental, anymore. The blanket lay forgotten across our laps, the bowl of popcorn long cold on the coffee table. The only light came from the television's gentle flicker and the small lamp in the corner, painting us in gold and shadow. "Mom," he said, so quietly, I almost missed it. I turned my head. Our faces were closer than I expected. Close enough to see the faint stubble along his jaw, the tiny scar above his eyebrow from when he was 9. Close enough to feel the warmth of his breath. "Yeah?" My voice came out hushed, like speaking louder might shatter whatever this was. He swallowed. "Do you ever think people can miss each other even when they're in the same house?" The question slipped straight into my heart. "Every single day," I answered. His eyes searched mine, something raw and unguarded swimming there. "I don't want to miss you anymore." I felt the air leave my lungs in a slow, trembling rush. My free hand lifted on its own, fingertips brushing the side of his face, tracing the line of his cheekbone like I was memorizing it all over again. He leaned into the touch, eyes fluttering, half closed. Declan. His name felt different in my mouth tonight, heavier, sweeter. He turned his head just enough that his lips grazed the inside of my wrist, soft, deliberate. Not a kiss, not quite. A question. A confession. My pulse thundered so loud I was sure he could hear it. I didn't pull away. Instead, my thumb traced the curve of his lower lip, slow, wondering. He let me. His breath shook against my skin. "I used to think loneliness was the worst feeling in the world," I whispered. "Turns out being seen, really seen, after all this time, is so much scarier." His eyes opened, dark and serious. "I'm not scared," he said. "Not of you. Not of this. This?" The word hung between us like a lit fuse. He shifted again, angling toward me. The hand that wasn't holding mine rose, hesitant, then settled lightly at the nape of my neck, fingers threading into my hair. The touch was gentle, reverent, but there was strength in it too. A man's hand, not a boy's. My entire body responded before my mind could catch up, warmth flooding places that had been cold for years. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, voice rough, "and I will. Right now." I should have. Every rule, every boundary, every voice in my head screamed it. But I was tired of rules that kept me invisible. I didn't tell him to stop. Instead, I leaned in, just an inch, closing the last careful distance between us. Our foreheads touched. His breath mingled with mine. The room spun slow and quiet around us. "Vanessa," he said, "my name, not Mom, soft, like a prayer." And then, so carefully it broke my heart, his lips brushed the corner of my mouth. Barely a kiss, barely anything, and everything. The moment stretched, fragile and blazing. When he pulled back a fraction, his eyes asked the question neither of us had dared to speak yet. What happens now? Thank you for listening tonight. If this story stirred something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Every click helps us keep sharing these raw, grown-up truths. Word count, 800. The room was perfectly still, except for the low hum of the credits looping on the screen. Declan's lips had left the ghost of warmth on the corner of my mouth, and neither of us had moved an inch since. His hand still rested at the nape of my neck, thumb brushing slow, soothing circles against my skin. My own hand was pressed to his chest, feeling the fast, unsteady beat beneath the thin cotton of his t-shirt. We were balanced on the edge of something irreversible, and we both knew it. His eyes searched mine, dark and wide, waiting for the verdict I hadn't yet found words for. I drew a shaky breath. "Declan, we can't pretend this is simple." "I know," he whispered. "I'm not pretending." Another breath, another heartbeat. I let my forehead rest against his. "If we cross this line tonight, there's no going back to just mother and son on the couch." His fingers tightened gently in my hair. "Maybe we stopped being just that a long time ago," he said, voice raw. "Maybe we've both been pretending for years." The truth of it hit like warm rain. All the nights I'd heard his footsteps in the hallway and wished he'd stop at my door. All the times I'd caught him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. All the quiet, unspoken loneliness we'd carried under the same roof. I pulled back just enough to see his face fully. 25 years old, and yet I still saw every version of him at once. The scraped-kneed boy, the sullen teenager, the man now holding his breath for my answer. I cupped his jaw with both hands. "Look at me," I said softly. "Really look." He did. No shame, no hesitation. "I'm 47, I told him. "I have stretch marks and regrets and a lifetime of being careful. If you want me, you get all of it. Not some fantasy. Me." A slow, reverent smile curved his mouth. "I've only ever wanted you, Vanessa. The real you." The way he said my name, like it belonged to him now, unraveled the last of my resistance. I leaned in and kissed him. Not the careful brush from before. A real kiss, slow, deep, and trembling with everything we'd both kept locked away. His lips parted under mine instantly, a soft sound escaping him that lit me on fire. When my tongue touched his, he pulled me closer, one arm sliding around my waist, the other still cradling the back of my head like I was something precious and breakable. Years fell away in that kiss. I wasn't the lonely divorcee. He wasn't the son who'd come home lost. We were just two people who had found each other again in the dark. When we finally broke apart, foreheads still touching, both of us breathing hard, he rested his hand over my racing heart. "I love you," he said against my lips. "I always have. I just didn't know what to do with it until tonight." Tears slipped free, but I was smiling. "I love you too," I whispered. "God help us both." He laughed once, low and wondering, then kissed me again, softer this time, sealing it. The television flickered to black behind us. The house was silent except for our breathing and the quiet creak of the couch as he shifted, easing me down until I was lying back against the cushions, and he was above me, careful, reverent, eyes asking one final time. I answered by pulling him closer. Outside, the night deepened. Inside, something that had been asleep for years finally woke up, warm and breathing and unafraid. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I didn't feel alone. Thank you for staying with this story until the very last second. If it touched you, moved you, or made your heart race, please hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. Every single click keeps these honest, grown-up stories coming. See you in the next one.